Good.
Yeah, I know you was trolling. That's what you like to do. I like to troll. So, all right,
Man.
everybody, what's going on? It's Narcolepsy Boy 94, aka Malik, back again with another special podcast for you guys. Going to be debating and talking about some WWE Mount Rushmore. Who belongs on the WWE Mount Rushmore of all time? Only four spots you can fit. Obviously, there's so many legends throughout WWE's history, so it makes it good for conversations and discussions. We'll all share our personal Mount Rushmore, and then we'll try to consistently, agree on a Mount Rushmore that we can come up with together who belongs on the greatest. But as always, I got some guests on here, so I'll let them introduce themselves. You guys can plug in your socials if you want. We'll start with Lewis, and after Lewis is done, Phil, you can go, and then Alan will go. And then, as always, you guys can interact in the comment sections below as well, too. Give your Mount Rushmore in the comment section, or give your opinions on our thoughts of the Mount Rushmore as well that we're gonna drop. So, Lewis.
Well, what's going on, everybody? It's Lewis here, aka Christian Cage and the Arm Sling. You guys can go subscribe to the Wrestling Chop Shop. That's where we be at, and very honored to be here. Thanks again, Malik. And yeah, let's get to it.
All right, guys, what's going on? Phil here. As you guys know, listen, guys, this is gonna be a fun time right now. I can tell this is gonna be. We're gonna be saying some names, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. But guys, you can follow me on TikTok at @PhillyMatt_. That's also Twitter and Instagram as well. Go subscribe to the Outside the Brand podcast. We do lives practically every single day, and we will be doing one after SmackDown tonight. So come check us out. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm honored to be here. Let's do this thing.
And of course, I'm back by popular demand. Petty Endo 89, the biggest Bret Hart mark on TikTok. You already know who I am. Petty Endo 89 on TikTok, Petty Endo 89 on Instagram, and I just want to let it be known now. It says it on the tag right here. I do not acknowledge Roman Reigns. Let's get it, fellas.
Someday.
This is the way I acknowledge Roman. This is the way I acknowledge Roman.
That's my brother.
Nah, we don't like Roman on this side. He a bitch.
You'll come around. Y'all come around someday.
Nah.
Only matter of time.
I don't know, man.
Only matter of time. So, what y'all want to do first? Y'all want to try to see what everybody else's Mount Rushmore is, or you want to try to agree on one first? Because I for sure know at least one person on Lewis' list.
Man. I mean, we can just go.
I know one on Alan's list for sure. I'm pretty sure I know one on Phil's list at least for sure too. So I'm interested to see who everybody has. I know Lewis has the Undertaker on there. That's his GOAT.
All right, bro. Why you gotta like?
Take a thunder, right?
Undertaker's a legend. I'm not sure about the other three though.
Yeah.
I don't know about the other three.
Yeah, nah. So my Mount Rushmore, like I'm just more so just like it's kind of hard, because I didn't want to be that guy and be like Vince McMahon is on the Mount Rushmore because I do believe, but like we can admit like Vince is on a tier of his own. So
Right.
If we can all agree, let's push Vince out there because Vince is Vince. So
Yeah, Vince is not really
obviously Undertaker. I think Undertaker's the greatest of all time, but that's not because of my bias with the Undertaker. Undertaker was the cornerstone of the backbone for WWE for damn near 30 years. Kept everybody in check. You can ask anybody in that locker room. Taker's the man. Stone Cold, he essentially is the main reason why WWE beat WCW. This is gonna be controversial, but Hulk Hogan, I gotta put Hogan on there. Without Hogan, there is no wrestling. There ain't no WWE. So Hogan's the guy. And John Cena. I gotta put Cena on there, man. Cena. I ain't got shit to say about Cena. Cena, man. I ain't gotta say nothing about him, man.
Right.
So my Mount Rushmore is the exact same as Lewis. I ain't gonna lie. We got the same Mount Rushmore. That's mine.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, that's mine.
Oh wow. Hey, I gotta admit, I thought you was gonna put Andre in yours. So all right, cool.
No.
Me personally, I was close.
I think Andre definitely is a cornerstone to WWE for sure.
Yeah.
But I think I don't know. I feel like other people have surpassed him at this point. Like Andre, really during the time when WWE kind of really started to take off too, he was like hurt a lot. He was getting older and everything, so he wasn't the same. He wasn't the same Andre, and he was kind of his biggest moment in WWE was really the moment when he put Hulk Hogan over as the guy. You know what I mean? So I mean that's really people remember him for it. But as much as people don't like him, I have to put Hulk Hogan on there. I mean, there probably would never have been a WWE successful wise, especially in that era without Hulkamania. I mean, people look back on his stuff now and they say it's corny and he couldn't wrestle. But if you were born back then, Hulk Hogan was larger than life. Like he was larger than life. Allen was around for that era, so everything Hulk Hogan did back in that day was bigger than everything. So I mean,
Not lying.
And then Stone Cold to me is the biggest star in wrestling history. He single-handedly was one of the reasons that the Attitude Era got saved. Without the rise of Austin 316, who knows if WWE would even win the war? I mean, we don't even know. I mean, we only can speculate. But I mean, the Austin 316 shirt is the highest selling WWE t-shirt of all time. Nobody made Vince more money than Austin. So, and his run wasn't even that long either. I mean, he was on the top for maybe 5 years due to his neck injuries, but his impact, you can't deny it. Undertaker, greatest character of all time. His longevity, the one guy who always could remain relevant on the roster without even winning a world title. I mean, everything Undertaker did was important, especially through the later years when the streak was around and everything. Like, Undertaker was just bigger than most things. And then John Cena, I think, to me, had the greatest run as the guy on top. Nobody for 10 years consistently was the guy longer than John Cena for a consistent consecutive years on top as the guy without changing their gimmick once. When people begged him to change something, never changed.
Do a little heel turn.
Never changed his gimmick.
Never did that.
Always on top as the guy. He was always the guy for 10 years without changing his gimmick once, and always remained to be the biggest star in the company, the most relevant star in the company, and the biggest draw in the company. And that will probably can never be done again, honestly, because usually the one thing they tell you about wrestling is that you have to reinvent yourself at least once or twice when you get to that top. And
or
Cena,
at least try to
Cena
get
never,
that.
he never had to do it, and he never had to do it. So I gotta say Cena's up there. So that's mine. Phil, shoot yours, and then we'll go to Alan.
Well, first of all, you guys already took all my points. I mean, three of them are the exact same in Stone Cold, The Undertaker, and John Cena. The only other one that I have different is Ric Flair. I got Ric Flair up there. I mean, the guy is 16-time world champion. Obviously, the whole thing when it comes to his matches, those matches were great. I go back to seeing obviously Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels at 24 all the time. I mean, listen, that's just not even the retirement match, of so to speak, but just the way that all came about and just the way Ric Flair has been over the course of his career. There's nobody like Ric Flair, and the charisma that guy exuded for the majority of his career up until the man just had to step away. There's nobody like that, and you can try to create that charisma all you want, but man, you get those woos going, it's absolutely insane. So that's my guy right there. Ric Flair I would have, but everybody else, Undertaker, greatest character of all time, the greatest creation by Vince McMahon other than WrestleMania. John Cena, like you said, been at the top for so many years and just never really stopped until he kind of just he went the other route, but that's good for him, and he's been doing great things since. And obviously the Stone Cold, biggest money draw guy, legitimately saved WWE from the whole WCW era and all that stuff, and just did the thing. So those are my four.
Alan, go ahead and drop yours.
All right. So we agree on Steve Austin. Yeah. Definitely. Undertaker. Absolutely. My debate was between him and John Cena.
What's the catch? What's the catch?
I'm not done yet. I'm not done.
It's the catch.
Now, my other two, and y'all can give me hell.
No, I know one of them is Shawn Michaels for sure.
I got Shawn Michaels.
Yep.
I got Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart.
Yeah.
Oh, so you do have Bret Hart on there? Okay.
I do. Bret Hart is on my Mount Rushmore, and I will defend that.
I thought you were gonna say Yokozuna. I ain't gonna lie.
No. Top 5 big man, but not Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
It was either Shawn Flair or who the heck were you just
you could explain your reasons. So you guys,
Yeah.
I mean, we've already talked about Austin and
right. Okay, so Austin and Taker. Shawn, I believe, is the greatest professional wrestler of all time. You talked about John Cena's run overall, but I would say Shawn Michaels' overall career, including that 8-year run, is one of the greatest things I've ever seen. Like he's Mr. WrestleMania for a reason,
Yeah.
albeit with a losing record, but like so much of that of what he brought to the table and was able to do it after a 4-year absence with injury and addiction
Yeah.
and all that. I think he's the greatest of all time. And yes, call me biased, whatever, but I say Bret Hart for this reason. When Hulk Hogan left, that was that glue that held it all together. Like I could give you a whole list of guys that he had to pull up and bring up, and then on top of that, introduced the concept of ladders. He's the one that actually went and told Vince to go get Steve Austin, which is what led to Steve Austin and then put him over. So it's just like connecting the dots like all the way through. Wasn't the biggest draw? No. Not wasn't a Hulk Hogan or a big type draw like that. But when you look at the contributions that the WWE still eats off of and how the dots connect, there's no way I can leave him off the Mount Rushmore.
You got valid points. You got valid points, and Brett was definitely responsible for a lot of things that happened in WWE. I mean, him and Sean, I think they definitely were back and forth as far as like who the top guy was at that time when Hulk Hogan stepped away before the Attitude Era came. And you could, I mean, I personally think that was Bret Hart's era over Shawn Michaels. I mean, that's personally, I think so, but you could go either one, either answer, either side. Nobody had The Rock though on the list.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Man, I can defend that all day. Yeah,
I can too, but I'll let whoever go first. Sorry, I didn't
so
I mean, okay, I mean, The Rock and Shawn Michaels were like neck and neck for me at the 5 spot, like as far as like the top 5, because I do think as big of a draw as Austin was, The Rock was as big as Austin. At some points, he was even bigger than Austin at that point. When Austin stepped away, you could argue the year 2000, 2001, The Rock was the guy. Those were his years. Plus, you think of the contributes of stuff that he did after he left wrestling. I mean, when he came, honestly, when you look at the whole package, Austin is the biggest draw in wrestling, but The Rock may be the biggest superstar draw ever in wrestling. Like when it comes to ever, we're talking about in wrestling and outside of wrestling. Like the biggest name ever. When he came back and had the match with Cena, that broke all types of records, and obviously Cena was a big part of it. But The Rock was. If he comes back and has the match with Roman next year at WrestleMania, that probably will break records that him and Cena set. You know what I mean? So The Rock is a big contributor of definitely when it comes to draw power. I think what hurts him the most though is that I think kind of and to an extent, he was always like second to Austin to some people.
Yeah, that was my reasoning, because when I think of the Attitude Era, like I'm just talking me personally, when I think of the Attitude Era, I mainly think about the what saved WCW, and that was Austin and Vince. And call me crazy, but when I think of the Attitude Era, I don't think of The Rock being number 2. I see him being the number 3 guy, because each and every single week from what I saw, and I look back at it now, the main thing people wanted to see was Vince and Austin. They wanted to see what happened between those two. Like in my head, those were the 2 biggest stars in the Attitude Era. People wanted to see what was going to go on between Vince and Austin each and every single week, and the creative shit that they did is what made it even better. So that's probably a bit of a hot take, but I saw The Rock as the 3rd biggest star when
like I said,
and Vince and Austin were at the peak.
I don't think really The Rock, honestly, like I said, he became the guy when Austin got hurt and he left for that period of time, because 98, 99 was Austin's years, but 2000, 2001 was The Rock's year. You know what I mean? That's the reason I think, when Hulk Hogan came back, The Rock was the one that got that match and got to get put over. You know what I mean? Because Rock had been the guy. You know what I mean? He wasn't like, if you really look back at that time frame, Austin, obviously I think will go down as the bigger draw. But if you look back at that time frame, like 2002, The Rock was the bigger star then. Like he was more over at that time than Austin was at that time frame. You know what I mean? Plus, like I said, I just feel like in many people's minds, he was kind of always second to Austin. And in my opinion, I mean, this might be another hot take, but I personally think The Rock was better than Austin at everything: promos, in-ring work, character work, entertainment value. He was better to me than Austin. I think Austin just had more appeal of connecting with the audience.
Austin just had it, you know what I'm saying?
He had the it factor. Like The Rock, I think was cool, and he was, he had his swag to him, but like Austin was just over the top, over the edge, so badass. You know what I mean? Like he was like the Mike Tyson of wrestling. You know what I mean? Like people just gravitated so much towards him. And
I also feel like with the fan connection value, it's like everyone can't relate to The Rock or whatever, but everybody could relate to Austin because he would come into work every day and whoop his boss's ass, and that's what everybody want to do. They want to come in and whoop their boss's ass.
Yeah.
So that's easily relatable. Like something so
Right.
simple like that is like just transcends Austin even further, just because of how relatable he was.
It's amazing how small something like that could be relatable to millions around the world. But then The Rock with his promos and everything like that, I mean, they're so captivating.
Yeah.
And they brought that audience together, and there's a reason why he says like the millions and millions. He brought those millions together during that time period when Austin was away. So I mean, you can argue that for a lot.
I look at it like hierarchy tree. Like if you look at like eras and who was where and who was what. So like
right,
you like Austin, when you think of the Attitude Era, there's Austin, then there's Rock, then there's Triple H. You kind of go down the line. You know, you look at Hogan's era, there's Hogan, even though there are guys that you could say were probably better on the mic and more charismatic like Savage, but Hogan was the leader. My era, it was more, you could say Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels. I say Bret Hart, but then like everybody else that's iconic kind of falls under. And then you could say the same thing with Cena, and like Randy Orton and those guys. Like it's Cena at the top, but then everybody else kind of comes under. So it's a hierarchy tree for me in each era.
I mean, every era though has a top guy though. I mean, every era has one
True.
guy that's at the top. I mean, besides the Attitude Era, I don't think we'll ever have another Rock and Austin where it's like two top guys fighting for the spot, and each, depending on the year, it could switch back and forth. Like they thought they were gonna get it with Cena and Batista, but Cena just took off and became the guy. Even with Cena and CM Punk, some people thought it was gonna be that too, but Cena was still just bigger. Every guy has an era. You've seen it now with Roman. Before that, it was Cena. Then it was Austin, Rock, Brett, Shawn. You know what I'm saying? Hogan. You know what I'm saying? It's just every guy always has an era. You know what I'm saying? And I think what some people misconstrue too is that even though some guys who are maybe the top guys of their eras, they may look at Roman Reigns right now. Seth Rollins is better at Roman Reigns at a lot of things, but Seth Rollins will always be number 2 to Roman as far as being the guy. He's not the guy.
Because Roman just has
That's like
because
Savage
Roman has the look. You know what I'm saying?
He has WWE's pretty much made it clear for years that Roman was going to be next in line, but it's Roman Reigns in the main event of WrestleMania every year. It's not Seth Rollins. It's Roman Reigns main eventing all the pay-per-views now since he's been tribal chief. So Seth has always been that number 2 guy. Randy Savage was the same way to Hulk Hogan. Randy Savage was better at Hogan than a lot of things, but he was always number 2 to Hulk Hogan. He was never the guy. So I think it's always like that to an extent, though. Now, Lewis, you didn't have Shawn Michaels on your list. I didn't have Shawn Michaels on mine either, but I'll explain why. Why didn't Shawn crack your list? Because Shawn cracked your list. Alan, no, he's your GOAT. And you didn't crack your list either, Phil, so I'll let you touch on it.
Well, to me, it was kind of just like a process of elimination. Well, I want to make it known right now, just because they're not on my Mount Rushmore, don't mean I don't respect the guys, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
but to me, it was kind of just a process of elimination. Like I look at my Mount Rushmore, I created like Hogan, Taker, Cena, Austin, and I compare. And it's just the way how I compared it, it just Shawn didn't do enough for me. Like, Shawn was great, but he wasn't the cornerstone like Taker was. He didn't save eras or wrestling like Hogan did. He didn't draw as much as Cena did with the merchandise and just captivating crowds. And he certainly just wasn't Stone Cold Steve Austin. You know what I'm saying? Like all those guys have different things that just elevated WWE to another tier. Not saying Shawn Michaels didn't, but Shawn Michaels was also kind of very controversial too. Like, some of his stuff like Montreal Screwjob and shit. Like most of Shawn's moments is, has a lot of controversy on it and shit. So
what about you, Phil?
Really like that.
Now, you guys know me. He's my favorite superstar of all time. But how does that compute with him not being on my Mount Rushmore? A lot of the same things that Lewis was saying with not. I mean, the whole controversy thing that comes with the territory. But looking at it and everything like that, when I had to make this list, I'm gonna tell you the truth. It's him at number 5. Like, it was between Flair and Shawn Michaels for me at number 4. It just took them. It just took a matter of which one really did more, which one really had that captivating of eras and all that stuff. And I just picked Rick, um, but yeah, Shawn, he's still great, and I love it. But I don't know. It's just
Yeah,
Rick was Flair.
I would respectfully disagree with you on that, but like I said, it's your Mount Rushmore just on the Ric Flair portion, because I would
Yeah.
feel like, from my standpoint, I feel like Ric Flair fits better in a WCW
Yeah.
Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, I
I
agree
feel
on
like
that
Ric
one.
Flair
That makes sense.
like, you could argue him and Sting, one or the other could be the WCW go. Me with Shawn Michaels is purely off of being the greatest talent of all time. So I feel like if you're the greatest talent, you may not have drawn the most tickets, you may not have been the most iconic, but just about every era that you touched, you made an impact, particularly in the ring, and you were consistent. Like, I'm talking about from when he started in the singles roster after the Rockers broke up in 92, all the way through the rest of the 90s to 98. Then he comes back, and he just didn't, to me, he just didn't miss a beat, and it helped the product flow through. Like, every era that you've looked at, he has been right there with the world championship picture. Even if he wasn't the champion, he was in the major storyline, and it kept the thing going. And you didn't see a lot of people do that. Now, don't
Right.
get me wrong, as a Bret Hart fan, I am all too aware of Shawn Michaels' controversy.
Yeah.
I've gotten into plenty arguments with Click fans about, things that he's done. I laughed at what Triple H was talking about when they had the little rivalry piece between those two on A&E about a couple of months ago, and I thought Triple H was very biased, but that's just my opinion. But that's my whole thing. It's like, I get it, maybe not as iconic for an era as a Austin or a Rock, but like, when you look at the consistency of greatness in ring all time, I'm sorry, I just can't. You can't give me another guy. I don't feel like that can touch him on that level. John
Yeah.
Cena isn't as good of a wrestling talent as Shawn Michaels. He's probably more of an iconic figure. He's probably better for that era.
Yeah.
But in ring, it's Shawn Michaels and a broomstick sometimes, and we
Nah.
wouldn't
Nah. If I may, real quick. I'm sorry, Malik. So the way how I viewed Shawn, especially towards the later stages of his career, like I get the argument of him being on the Mount Rushmore, but the Shawn Michaels I saw from all the way up until 2008 to the time he retired, basically the vibe I got is what Seth Rollins is going through right now. Oh, he's amazing in the ring. Go have a great match with him. That's it. You know what I'm saying? That's all I saw. I never saw Shawn Michaels being the focal point of a show. You know what I'm saying? Like Streak versus Career was amazing. His matches with Undertaker were amazing. Am I good?
You're good. You're good.
Okay. But from what I've from what I've seen from Shawn Michaels when I did see him, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm only 19. I didn't see prime Shawn at all.
Fair enough.
But that's basically what I saw. It's the same stage Seth Rollins is going through. He's a phenomenal wrestler. He can have a great match with anybody. Go out there and have a great match. That's it. Do nothing with him afterwards. You know what I'm saying? That's what I saw, and that's why I can't do that.
I mean, Shawn Michaels falls in the category with Undertaker as far as a guy who never needed to be world champion to be relevant. Like, Shawn Michaels, pretty much. I saw the second run of Shawn Michaels' career. I didn't see the first run of Shawn Michaels' career live. I saw Shawn Michaels' second run when he came back after that 4-year absence, and he only won the world title once when I started watching. He was never the world champion during my time, but when I was watching, he never felt like he needed to be the world champion because everything he did was good. He was always in good storylines. He was always helping other people get over, you know what I mean? Like, he was always doing his best to, I mean, like I said, he's Mr. WrestleMania with a losing WrestleMania record. Like, who else can do that? You feel me? Like, nobody else can do that. Like, every year at WrestleMania, it's like with Johnny Gargano with TakeOver. Like, he's Mr. TakeOver, but how many matches?
Relax.
Johnny Gargano was amazing at TakeOver, and you knew that he was going to steal the show at TakeOvers, but he has a losing record. But that's nobody thinks about that though. Like same with Shawn Michaels at
Right.
WrestleMania. Like you think of the great man. Like
Mhm.
I could always make the case that from his second run, and his second run, honestly, you could make was better than his first. I mean, his second run was just as good, and he probably had better matches during his second run. But if you look at from WrestleMania 19 to WrestleMania 26, that was his second run. Shawn Michaels probably had the best match every year at that WrestleMania. The match with Jericho at WrestleMania 19 was a show stealer. His match at WrestleMania 20, the triple threat match, was amazing. WrestleMania 21, him and Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle was amazing, yeah.
WrestleMania 22, even the match with Vince McMahon. Like saying, like Vince was 60 years old at the time, but they still had a great match. His match with John Cena the year after, the match with Ric Flair, the two matches with Undertaker. Like he always had a good match. He never had a bad match. I'm saying it was always a good match at WrestleMania. So Shawn, I think what holds me back is the draw power. I feel like, I mean, I'm not gonna say he wasn't a big draw. He definitely was a big draw of his era. He just wasn't as big of a draw as Cena. I don't think he was a bigger draw than the Undertaker. I think Hulk Hogan, obviously, and Austin were bigger draws as well. Plus, those guys on the Mount Rushmore, they may not have been as great as Shawn Michaels in the ring, but they could still put on great matches and steal the show with other superstars. They've done it many times. John Cena's had many great show stealer matches. So it's Hulk Hogan. If you like Hulk Hogan or not, and go to some of his matches back in the day, they stole the show. Austin, same way. Undertaker's had many great show stealer matches. So I just feel like all those guys had the total package of something to offer when it comes to draw power. They all had great draw. They all like John Cena's name is on the show. It's gonna sell out. It doesn't matter who he faces. John Cena could face Santino Marella and it's still gonna sell out. I mean, so like it's the same.
You could face Zach Gowen, you know.
Undertaker, and the same with Hogan, and I feel the same way with Austin. Like those guys can sell out. I'm not saying Shawn Michaels can't either, but I don't feel like not to the extent. Like those guys, I feel like gonna sell out arenas everywhere. They can put on great matches with damn near pretty much anybody, and they pretty much got all the package for real. And I feel like that's what holds Shawn Michaels back for me being on my personal Mount Rushmore. I definitely think he could be in the top five. Because like the top five for me, it's between him and The Rock. For me, it's hard to debate like that spot. It's tough to say for me on that fifth spot because
it's honestly for me too. Yeah,
it's neck and neck right there. I feel like those are the unanimous top fives. Or at least
I guess I can't say my fifth. Who I was trying to like, it's back and forth because for me, my fifth spot is kind of low key between Triple H and The Rock, personally for me.
all right.
Triple H is up there, but man, if we're talking like a whole package, especially now what he's doing, like as far as in creative, then he's probably on the Mount Rushmore. Honestly, like especially going to be in the future, like what he's going to do with WWE and the direction he's taking it in. I mean, we saw how great NXT was and everything now. So I mean, he's gonna have a big part. He's gonna have a big part of the future.
About that Triple H NXT.
If we're talking about like if we're talking strictly like talent wise, I can't.
Yeah, because I think that would be a little unfair. Like if we coupled in, his, creative and executive, accomplishments along with his in ring, when a lot of the other guys we talked about don't really have that. I don't think that would be fair. But at the same time, Triple H was very consistent. I wasn't the biggest fan of him as a kid, but I thought that I wasn't. No, I mean, listen. When he came to the WWE, I remember him in WCW when he was using his
terrorizing,
terrorizing,
and John Paul effect, and then he came as the British Blue Blood in '95, and I'm like, get him off my TV doing a little. I'm like, what in the? But then the whole thing with DX is like, okay, and then I won't lie, I was watching the Raw when he started using Motorhead as his theme in 2000, and I was like, oh. And fun fact, he's the first WWE heel in the history of WrestleMania to close the show with the championship. No heel had ever walked out with the championship at WrestleMania 2000. So he's in the top 10.
I just feel like Triple H for me, he just never felt like the guy for me. He just never he felt like he was a great heel.
That's fair.
I never felt like he was number one. Like if you look at, he definitely wasn't number one over Rock or Austin. He was the best heel in the era, but he just wasn't the guy. Even when those guys left, Brock I felt was bigger than him. Like they pushed Brock hard. I thought Brock was looked at as the guy more than Triple H was. In 04, maybe the only year. That's because Brock had left. Eddie was champion, so was Benoit, but they were it was kind of like experimenting.
As soon as they had Batista, as soon as they saw Batista, they rode the wave of Batista off rip.
And then Batista and Cena came after that. Like Triple H just never felt like number one for me. That's why I can't put Randy Orton up there as high as some people for me. Like,
Yeah, I can't do that either. I can't do that either.
Yeah.
I agree on that
Yeah, I
one.
agree.
Yeah, I
Randy
can't
Orton-
do
Do
that.
that.
I think
yeah.
Randy Orton is great. I mean, in my opinion, I think Randy Orton was the best heel of my generation. I think he's on the Mount Rushmore greatest heels ever for me. But Randy Orton was never number one. He was never at number one over John Cena. Whether people like John
He
Cena,
was always that number 2 guy to John.
He's never
and
number two. Like, and it's not a bad thing. I'm saying
No.
some people.
Yeah.
Some
That's
people,
not
I
a
think
knock to him at all. Like not at all.
all the good guys have their heels. You know, they're bad guys they go against. You know, Austin had Vince, Rock had Triple H. You know, Cena had Orton and Edge. You know, Roman has Seth.
Every number one has a number two, and that's another example. Like I love Seth. You know what I'm saying? I think Seth's dope. But people just got to accept that people just people that's just meant to be number one. You know what I'm saying? Like it, shit just happens. You know, like it's like what Seth Rollins said earlier. Like he understands his role. Like he's the edge to Roman Cena. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like he's the macho man to his Hogan. This is people that's just certified number twos, man. It sucks.
When
it
you
is what
looked
it
at
is,
the
man.
Shield, when you just looked at the Shield, I'm sorry, but you just gravitated towards Roman, like because you just saw that guy. Listen,
I can't agree
listen,
with you there, man.
here's the thing.
I
I always
did.
gravitated towards Seth. I always gravitated.
Yeah,
towards
it
Seth.
was Seth for
But-
me,
but-
man.
It was Fox
I-
for me.
I always gravitated towards Seth. But the thing is, like, when you just saw that group together, you just saw the writing on the wall on who was going to be that guy out of that group. And
Oh, yeah,
it was
they
Roman.
made it. They made it clear to
They
me
made it very
before the Shield even had split up. It was see, I don't know if y'all peeped back then, but when the Shield were together, at
faced
times they felt equal. You know what I'm saying they were kind of equal, but then it was the little things they started to do with Roman, like he's the sole survivor of the Survivor Series team, and he eliminates like everybody on the group. And then when they had the feud with CM Punk beat Moxley and Roman and Seth, but who was the one guy in the Shield to beat CM Punk? It was Roman. Roman Reigns beat Kane's record in the Royal Rumble when he eliminated the most people. Like it was little things that you just saw. Like they were.
He
just
beat Randy at SummerSlam. You know what I'm
It
saying?
was going to be Roman, and there was nothing that was gonna stop it. The one time I felt like they were actually legitimately gonna do something with Rollins, and they did, and trust me, they did after everything. But that Plan B, like shot to the back and everything of Roman, I'm like, thank you. Like we're actually finally gonna capitalize on this guy because this guy is so
I
great
think
at what he does.
I think what holds Seth Rollins back too, though, is that he's never really been the guy for me either. Like Roman
Never has.
was always the
No.
guy. Even when Roman left and he had the leukemia stuff, like Becky Lynch was bigger at that point. You know what I mean? So like it's just it kind of felt like Seth is always in the wrong place at the wrong time. You know what I mean? Like
That's really the kicker.
I do believe though, if he had never got injured when he was WWE champion, I do.
He was gonna go to Mania as champion.
I do think he would have main evented WrestleMania that year. I think the Shield would have main evented that year, but
That happens though. Like if you look at every major big time star in WWE history, a lot of Roman's probably the only one that I could say that a lot of it was like coincidence, spontaneous, like it just kind of clicked, you know.
Right.
Hulk Hogan, it just kind of clicked because you know he was in the WWE I think 2-3 years before Hulkamania took off. You know,
Yeah.
Bret Hart was a mid Carter for 8 years before that happened. Shawn Michaels was right there. Even though he came in '88.
bro, the
Steve-
Rock,
Steve
Stunning
Austin,
Steve Austin, Rocky Maivia, like
yeah, you know, and
Thugonomics Cena, the prototype.
the
Yeah.
prototype, like you know, Cena was on his way out unless the rapping gimmick had happened, and it just kind of clicked, and it just happens with those guys. Yeah, you know, it's just historically how it works.
Roman probably realistically was probably like legit the first chosen one, like the first
Oh, yeah.
groom,
Absolutely.
the home
Absolutely.
groom chosen one from the beginning. Like he's never been in a bad spot. He was never in a bad spot like Hogan, and like he's never been in a bad spot. Like
No.
he was Liaki in NXT and everything, but as far as main roster, he's never been in a bad spot. He was in the Shield, and they dominated for 2 years. After that, he main evented WrestleMania the very next year. You know what I mean? So it's like he's never been in a bad spot. But I do feel like some guys are meant to be the one spot, And realistically, like all the people I guess you could say that Vince has chosen to be in that spot, they're all legends. Like Hulk Hogan,
Yeah.
Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels, they're all Hall of Famers. They're all legends to an extent. I think we're just now in the era. Well, John Cena set the era as far as when he was chosen to be the guy, and he started to change and look like the guy and become the guy people rejected. You know what I mean? And I think that's probably how it's going to be for the future. They did it with Roman. The person after Roman probably would be the same way.
And it's gonna be one of those things that typically you don't see coming, but it just happens, and then they roll with it, and then hopefully it works.
Who's a legend? Who's a legend that doesn't rank as high on your list as some people may have ranked them? It could be any legend, like a legend that you think is.
Ooh.
That's spicy.
I
Yeah,
had to
that's a
think about
spicy
that.
one.
I have to think about that.
Well, from a WWE standpoint, sorry, Phil, but I gotta say Ric Flair. And I'm gonna tell you, and I'm gonna say,
no. Honestly, I
Yeah.
completely see where that is coming from.
Yeah. And
100% with WCW. 100%.
yeah, well, even with here's my knock against Ric Flair. Here's my knock against Ric Flair.
Got a good one.
Ric
I got one
Flair overall, I feel like his iconic stage was the 1980s. Like if you look at the 90s, there's only like a handful of matches that you could look at and say this and now he was instrumental in the creation of Nitro and stuff like that. But WWE outside of WrestleMania 8,
Yeah,
they didn't really-
NWA and WCW were Ric Flair.
Yeah. So
like realistically for me, I just want to say this: even though Ric Flair, the WWE Mount Rushmore, Ric Flair is on my wrestling Mount Rushmore.
Oh, absolutely.
But
Mine too.
as far as WWE wise, yeah, he still had the best WWE career, which was an extent.
And the other guy I would say is Triple H, but that's a different story.
My boy was tag champs with Piper for fuck's sake. Like,
chill out on the game, man. Chill out on the game, bro.
I'm just saying.
man, I got a good
I
one.
completely
Man.
agree with that, though.
Go ahead, Lewis.
I can see it.
I just want to say viewers' discretion, right? From a casual fan standpoint, I'm gonna say it one more time so y'all don't jump down my fucking ass. From a casual fan standpoint, Malik knows I'm gonna say Mick Foley.
Oh,
Okay.
From a casual fan standpoint, the hardcore fans know. Hardcore fans, Foley made stars. Hardcore fans, Foley did a lot of things for the business. Was a key. Him winning the WWF title was a key part of beating WCW. Why I don't rank Mick Foley as high, because from a casual fan standpoint, you look at casual fans, Cena, you know what I'm saying? Rock, Austin, you know what I'm saying? From a casual fan standpoint, what mainly people think about Mick Foley is him getting his ass whipped. Not no moments of him winning the belt, not no moments of him doing anything big. It's literally him getting his ass kicked. Like, you think of Mick Foley, this motherfucker got tossed from a cell. This motherfucker's tooth got stuck in his nose. You know what I'm saying? This motherfucker got pedigreed on thumbtacks. Those are the kind of things you think about Mick Foley instead of just Mick Foley just winning the belt and shit like that. So that's why he's not as high on my list, because when you think of superstars like John Cena, you gonna name his best moments. When you think of Mick Foley, you just think of times getting his ass beat. You know what I'm saying? Like, from a casual point of view, that's how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, I see your point on that. I think Mick Foley, though, for me, maybe a little underappreciated. I think a little bit. I mean, this dude,
100%, yeah.
This dude got not one, not two, but three characters over in the WWE and made them all work. Dude loved Mankind and Cactus Jack, and he played himself, Mick Foley. So I guess you can count four if you want.
Did he come out in the Royal Rumble too with all three gimmicks?
He was the commissioner. I mean, everything he pretty much did, he made it work. For me, I think legend and WWE wise, I might say Rey Mysterio. Honestly,
Ooh,
I'm not mad at that.
I want to hear this. Wait, where's Jay?
I
at?
want to
Jay
hear
not
that.
in
Yeah.
here?
I mean, Rey Mysterio. I think Rey Mysterio is a legend for sure, but I don't know. I feel like his best moments came after Eddie had passed away.
Yeah.
And personally, I mean, I always felt like Eddie was better personally, but I felt like when Eddie passed away, we all, like, I guess, vicariously lived through Rey Mysterio because they had him and Rey had that connection together. You know what I mean? So, like, when Rey was succeeding, you wanted him to succeed. Like the Royal Rumble, like I rooted for him to win that year. And at WrestleMania, I was happy when he won the world title, but the world title run just didn't feel that great. Plus, like, maybe like Mick Foley, like Rey Mysterio was always getting his ass whooped too, man. Like he was getting beat up, man. Like he was getting beat up by bigger people, and I just felt, I don't know, I just felt like I don't know. He just never stood out to me as like I guess the guy too, as some other people did. Like I felt like there were other people in his era that felt bigger, like Edge, Randy Orton, Cena, Batista, Eddie Guerrero, Brock. Like they all just felt bigger in that era because they're all from the Ruthless Aggression era. You know what I mean? So they all just kind of felt bigger in that time frame. Just to me, and then I don't know. He just never felt as big to me as some other people may have him ranked, depending on where you have him ranked. I don't know, but this for this person, I'm speaking for me.
You know what? Fuck it. I kind of agree with the Rey Mysterio shit too. Now,
I
now the main shit why I agree with Rey
that.
Mysterio is because some of Rey's big moments is overshadowed by just small shit. Like him winning the WWE Championship, that's overshadowed by John Cena whipping his ass an hour later. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, what was it? His second run with the World Heavyweight title. Nobody fucking remembers it other than Kane beating his ass and taking that shit from him. Like that.
I think his impact on Lucha Libre and obviously
it's unmatched.
Spinner culture, it's unmatched. He's probably number one, honestly. If we're being realistic, like he's probably number one as far as changing the game and showing people like you don't have to be the biggest guy in wrestling to make it. You know what I mean? Like you could be. Rey Mysterio is probably the smallest wrestler ever to feel like the biggest legend ever. You know what I mean? Like he's the ultimate legend, and he's not the biggest guy ever. He was never the biggest guy ever, but he made it on every stage he was at. You know what I mean? It just when it comes to WWE wise, strictly in the WWE, I just felt like he was overshadowed by either certain people or certain moments. What about you? Who else didn't answer? Phil, did you answer? You didn't answer yours yet.
No, I didn't, but I completely had Rey Mysterio in my mind too, so you kind of just took it from me. But you know, I'm not even really sure who I would even pick because again, I started watching in 2010, so like once all that happened, like I didn't really get to see a lot of people's careers. But
it could be people that you've just seen. It doesn't have to be.
I mean, well, a superstar that I always just, I didn't really gravitate towards at all, even if it's just from my era, because I did technically see a lot of him, was Batista. I never got into Batista at all.
Batista was my guy. He was one of my guys.
I never got into Batista because I didn't really see. I saw what people saw in him. Trust me, because the huge guy, got a lot of potential and everything like that. But like once I saw everything that I needed to see, I'm like, I felt like people kind of overhyped the guy. I'm not gonna lie, but
it happened.
That's not a bad answer.
It happens.
A lot of people overhype Batista. A lot of people overhype Batista, and the thing is, like, he didn't really do much.
But walk alone.
When he did have like everything, and he actually had like his opportunities and everything like that, he succeeded, right? But like he didn't get a lot of them. As many other people did.
But machine gun fireworks, bro.
Dude, trust me. Every single time I did that. Every time I did that. But
his best year was in 2005, and then he got hurt. After that, he got hurt. He just was always number two to John Cena.
He never had anything after that.
You know why I agree with Phil on this whole talk? Because you know who I compare Batista to when you say it that way? Because I'm one of the older guys. I look at him kind of like I look at the Ultimate Warrior. Like, pretty much after 6 and 7, obviously he got fired, but there really wasn't much. Like, he had one of the most vanilla runs as WWE champion ever. So it's
Batista was on his way out the door, though. That's the thing. He only did that for though. He was on his way out
there was also that, yeah.
Well, he was old as shit too, man.
Well, but that's what I mean, because like Warrior was pretty much locked in. He didn't get fired to the next year. So that's what I'm saying. Like,
okay, hold on. 2005, 2007 Batista unmatched. That he had great runs, great matches, great title reigns in that era because I remember watching in that time frame. 2008, he had some great runs in that era too, but he didn't win the world title as much. He won the title at the end of 2008, but he kind of flip-flopped it back with Jericho. Then 2009, he got hurt quite a bit, and he was kind of doing his thing with Randy and then Rey Mysterio. And then 2010, he left. But 2005, 2007, Batista was easily top 3 biggest in the company at that time. Like it was John Cena.
And trust me, I've seen that Batista, and that Batista is fantastic. But from what I really saw from him from the obviously. I mean, when I started watching 9, 10, it was the tail end, right?
Yeah, it
So
was towards the end.
obviously I didn't get to
Yeah.
see much. But
He was towards the end. He was towards the
look,
end.
but
Yeah.
looking back, I just didn't really get the hype over the guy. I really
I
didn't.
get it. I get it. I get it.
I respect that. I respect that. I
I
respect.
respect
I mean, he was a little towards the end of at that time frame, and then when he came
But
back 14, it was kind of
it.
they
Trust
kind of
me. Trust me.
man,
Anytime that this man did his entrance, I did that too. Trust me. But I mean, yeah.
I'd rather watch his pyrotechnics than Goldberg's.
Oh, don't even get me
Goldberg's
started on
entrance.
Old
No,
Berg.
we're talking
Okay,
about Goldberg's entrance.
don't even get me
yeah,
started.
Goldberg
on
had a
that.
good entrance. I ain't gonna
We're
care.
talking about just
You
the
guys-
entrance alone. The entrance. The entrance. The entrance.
The entrance was fire, but everything else, I'm not.
Entrance. That's top 5 greatest
No.
thing ever. You can't tell me what. That's top 5.
Man,
The man did his entrance, and he busted his head open before one of his matches, like during this time run. I'm like, what the
Man.
hell are you even doing?
WCW, yeah.
Stop headbutting the door to make yourself bleed.
Goldberg's just that guy.
man, let me go back to what I mean. I think it was Malik where he said Mick Foley's underappreciated. You know who I feel like's underappreciated, bro? Am I good? Is my Wi-Fi acting up?
We good.
You know who I think is underappreciated? That boy JBL, man. JBL don't get love at all. His run as WWE champion, his heel work to get everybody pissed. Dude almost had the cartel on his ass, man.
Oh yeah.
The matches that he would do, he didn't always have the best matches, but he would always make you feel something. And the way I looked at JBL is he's like he was exactly the guy you'd want to see get his ass beat.
Yeah.
Did that every match.
Yeah.
And it would piss you off because he would find a way to win.
I loved it.
JBL.
You know what I'm saying? JBL needs respect. Respect.
I
I always went back and watched him, right? Because again, I started really late, so I didn't really get to see much of him. But holy shit, am I agreeing with you on that? JBL at that time, Jesus, my guy.
Wrestling god, bro.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you why I agree. I'm gonna tell you why I agree with that. JBL, that character, that cowboy, he was based off my favorite television villain of all time. So I loved every minute of it. He was based off of J.R. Ewing from Dallas. So I loved every minute of it. I'm like,
Okay.
outside of,
I can see. Oh my god, I can see that now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what he was based off. Only time I thought WWE took it too far was when they had that whole thing with Eddie's mama having a heart attack in the ring in Texas. I was like, okay,
That
Almost, bro, or when he or on national TV when they put him on the border,
Hey.
when they put him on the border on national TV, and he
Yes.
said, "Go to your Mexican family, yo."
Hey, look, my pops was like one of the most like open-minded wrestling fans, and even he called me like, I didn't agree with that shit. I'm like, you know?
Hey,
Yeah.
back then you could do that to get the heel heat though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Back
I mean,
then.
hey,
We often talk about wrestlers who just give, you know what I'm saying, give their all to the business, and like I don't think we appreciate how many fucking pints of blood this man lost in his entire run as WWE champion to be truly appreciated. Because when we often talk about, you know, the greatest WWE champions, I'm not saying JBL's, you know, top tier in terms of WWE champions, but what he made the belt at the time, you know, how he carried it, how he carried himself as a champion, how he carried himself as a heel, it's just unmatched. And we haven't seen anything like JBL to this day. You know what I'm saying? We haven't seen a heel, you know, that we can all collectively agree on that we want to lose so bad, and they still find a way to win. Like the cage match against Big Show, bloodied up. He fucking won because he got choke slammed through the ring. How the fuck do you script that? Like, you know what I'm saying? His matches with Eddie, the amount of blood they lost. You know what I'm saying? JBL was getting his ass beat every match, losing blood almost every match.
Some people might use that for Roman right now though, because the bloodline does help him a lot to win his matches. You know what I mean? It's like he's always trying to survive.
He's a heel. People need to stop
Yeah,
bitching, man. He a heel.
I'm gonna tell you,
But so I'm saying, so was JBL though. Like that's the whole point. Like
Right,
JBL was meant to survive. Like
So-
he was a survival champion. That's what Roman Reigns. He's a survival.
The difference between JBL and Roman is that JBL is a wrestling god. All right, so we're gonna put some respect on JBL.
Roman is God. God mode.
No, stop. The
Relax,
only reason,
relax.
look,
All right, relax.
as much as I don't care for Roman, more so the Bloodline fans, because they are the most annoying fans in wrestling history, in my opinion. The only reason I will defend Roman Reigns when it comes to the he has to get help every match is because I watched Ric Flair do it with the Horsemen for years. So I'm like, and y'all didn't seem to get mad at that, so don't get mad at this. I'll defend Roman on that one.
Man, I saw
Didn't Triple
AJ
H
Styles
do it
do with Immortal in TNA, like
Dude,
every
exactly,
fucking time.
exactly.
Every
Hollywood
fucking
Hogan
time.
with the NWO. Hollywood Hogan.
Didn't
Wade
Triple
Barrett with
H
the
do a lot
Nexus,
of that?
man. You know what I'm saying?
Triple
Wade
H did it in
Barrett with
Didn't
the
Evolution.
Triple H do it with
Nexus.
Evolution?
Adam Cole
Like,
with
yeah,
Undisputed Era, bro. Like,
Randy Orton did it with
Adam
Legacy.
Cole with
Seth
Undisputed
Rollins,
Era.
Seth
That
Rollins
one
did
I
it
can,
with, Seth Rollins did it with
yes.
the Authority. The Authority was helping Seth Rollins too. So
The Shield every fucking match, bro, and don't matter what match. The
Every
Shield every
match.
time. CM Punk, oh man, don't get me started, man.
the
Oh,
CM Punk, I mean,
Yeah.
that's what makes heels heels. You know what I mean? It helps make their characters hateable. You know what I mean? Because they're always cheating to win. You know what I mean? So it makes you hate them and despise them more because they're not supposed to win like that, but they escape, just by a hair. You know what I mean? So it makes you hate them more, and that's what gets the heels, over as the way they do. But
I think what really started that whole catalyst of everything with like the bloodline, helping everybody, it was SummerSlam. This past SummerSlam with everything. I mean, the whole ring flipped over and the man couldn't stay down. But yeah, I mean, it's been happening for years.
I can
say years because he's been champion for years at this point. So yeah,
I got a hot take. I'm gonna drop before we try to call it quits.
Yeah, we're gonna.
I think if we talk about the champion JBL I think a guy who can be on that level in terms of being hated so much that people want to see lose, is Baron Corbin. I think if you give Baron Corbin the chance,
the argument I wanted to say. I
think if you give Baron Corbin a chance, put him in the same situation JBL is in or was in, and I guarantee Corbin gonna be, I wouldn't say Roman type shit, but Corbin gonna be a top guy in the company.
Here's the thing about Corbin too, because I want to say this. Sorry, Malik. He's very underappreciated too, Corbin. As much as people really do hate him, and I really don't like the man all that much, but you can appreciate the fact that this man knows how to just get booed, regardless of wherever the hell he is, and just whoever the opponent is.
Who's
That's so underrated.
Who's a legend that you think deserves more respect? Doesn't make you Mount Rushmore, but somebody that you think deserves more credit. A legend. Talk about legends that we don't think are a little under.
Easy. Shout out to Petty's era, Mr. Perfect.
Yes,
Mr. Perfect. Yes. Mr. Perfect.
That's my hat.
I go back and watch Mr. Perfect. That man should have won WWE titles up the ass. The way how his gimmick was, everything was perfect. He wasn't lying. He should have been world champion once. He should have gotten the respect he deserved back then.
Yes.
Another person I have in mind. I mean, listen. I think everybody respects the man, and I think everybody, he for his era, he was fantastic. Scott Hall.
Absolutely.
Scott Hall. I mean, I think we all truly understand how underappreciated he is now that he's no longer here. But the fact that the man, he was always one of those guys that just gravitated towards everybody, and the man is sorely missed. But for sure, Scott Hall for me.
Well, I'll go with another guy whose real first name is Scott, and that is Scott Bigelow. Bam Bam Bigelow.
Bam Bam Bigelow. Okay, yeah.
The reason I say that is because, as a worker, people just didn't appreciate, how good he was. Like him and Vader when they were in Japan were the biggest tag team at the time.
Yes.
And then I have Vader as the greatest big man of all time. I have Bam Bam right there behind him, and the contributions he made in WWE. I don't think enough people talk about it.
All right, valid. I think for me, my answer, I'm going to say Batista. I think Batista
okay. Yeah, just shoot at me. Okay.
I think Batista is one of the most underappreciated legends, especially of his era. Most of it could probably be because he kind of did a little bit overshadowed by Cena, I think a little bit, when it was kind of like him and Cena fighting for the one spot, and then Cena kind of took over and became the guy. But Batista was never as bad as some people I think make him out to be. He had great matches in his era. His promos were solid. He had intensity behind his character. He was a big star. You know what I mean? He was good as a babyface and a heel. So I think Batista was one of the most underappreciated guys of his time frame.
I almost quit a job one time doing what he did in the ring after he lost to Cena. I'll quit. I thought that was one of the greatest shit I've ever seen.
I
throw-
wish I could do that now. Like seriously. Like,
I'm gonna
just go for that
throw a
now.
bonus name in there, and I'm gonna also say Dean Malenko. I
Yeah.
think Dean Malenko should have.
Okay.
Dean
Okay.
Malenko in his
Yes.
time, if he could just work a fucking mic, he would have been world champ, man. But
Dean
he
Malenko,
definitely needs
you
more
could-
respect.
Dean Malenko, you could put up there. I'll throw out another name to me, underappreciated, and it sucks because he's so good. But I think the company always looked at him as somebody kind of like a Seth and everything. But he was never Dolph Ziggler, bro. That you can't tell me otherwise. Bro. Dolph
Yeah.
Ziggler all
I agree.
around.
I feel like Dolph is such a weird topic in the wrestling community because everybody has different feelings about Dolph.
Dolph
I love
Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler has everything you ask for in a wrestler. He could sell. He's good on the mic. He's good in the ring. He can make people look good. He can make himself look good. He's just they never just gave him the keys to the city. Like when he was over and the people wanted him to be that guy, they just never gave it to him. You know what I mean? Like there were times when he was Money in the Bank, and then I guess he got hurt afterwards. But even when he came back from the injury, they never put him back. When he was a sole survivor on Team Cena for the Authority, when Sting debuted, people were ready for the Dolph Ziggler push. They didn't do anything with it. The stuff with the Miz when he became Intercontinental Champion again, and people were ready for that push again, still didn't do anything with it. You know what I mean? So I feel like Dolph Ziggler he's very underappreciated.
Well,
Go ahead.
The Miz too, underappreciated.
all right. Well, before I leave, if we're gonna throw another bonus name, then the name that popped up when you described Dolph Ziggler, when you said talk about somebody that had some momentum but didn't quite get it, then I got to throw Owen in there.
Ooh,
Owen, yeah.
okay,
Bro,
yeah.
I mean,
I agree.
okay.
I agree.
I mean, one of the hottest. Really.
You think Owen's better than Brett?
No.
Hell
Not
yeah.
Not fully. Certain things he's better at Brett at, but overall whole package, no. But I felt like after the King of the Ring, when he won the King of the Ring, they had the whole program with Brett. Like once they shut that off, they didn't really do as much. They put him in tag teams. Okay, they gave him 2 slams, but they should have done more.
He should have beat Brett at SummerSlam in the cage match, I think.
I wouldn't have been mad, but you know what? I wouldn't have been mad at that. I wouldn't have been mad. Brett still had the best year, but I wouldn't have been mad at that.
I mean, 94 was an incredible year, but it was like
I wouldn't have been mad at that.
If you look at it, it was kind of like he was overshadowed by Brett too, because he beat Brett in the
and Sean
WrestleMania 10, but then Brett leaves WrestleMania as the champion. You know what I mean? So it's like
once
again, Brett stuck it to him. You know what I mean? So
and then Brett drops the title. They get Diesel has it for a year, and then by the time Diesel's done, it's Sean's turn. And then so
Owen, I definitely think was somebody who should have been the world champion too eventually.
Absolutely.
At some point.
Absolutely.
But
oh yeah.
We all
I only brought him up because of how you described Dolph, and that was the first name I could think of.
Before we head off here, let's do a couple of Mount Rushmore rundowns. Give me your Mount Rushmore of women all time.
Oh man, that's easy for me. It goes for me. It's Trish, Lita, Charlotte, Sasha Banks.
Ooh, valid. What about you, Phil or Alan? Whoever wants to go first.
China was so close though.
So obviously Charlotte, Lita, but I'm old school to a fault, and I'm sorry, I got to throw Wendy Richter in there.
I thought you was gonna throw a Lunger Blaze in there.
No.
I thought you was about to.
No, Wendy Richter.
Who else? You got one more spot. You got Wendy, Lita. You got
I said Charlotte, Lita, Trish, and Wendy.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But you, Phil.
Listen, it's Trish, it's Lita. Listen, you're gonna get happy again. I may not like her, but I have to put her on here. It's Charlotte.
Gotta appreciate her, man.
I may not like her, but you
man.
have to appreciate it. And easily, without a shadow of a doubt, Sasha for me.
I'm stuck. Lita, Trish are on there for sure.
And like Lewis said, it was China too.
China's so close, bro. Like
China's
she's
up there,
like right there, man.
China's
like,
so close, man.
Becky Lynch is up there too for me.
Yeah, she is.
Becky's,
She is for sure.
Yeah.
Becky Lynch.
She's teetering. She's getting there.
She's like she nibbling right now. You know
I mean, first women's main event of wrestling, man.
Yeah.
I might say Becky Lynch, honestly. I can't even front. I mean,
that's valid.
I might have to go with Becky on that one. Last one, Mount Rushmore greatest themes of all time. WWE greatest themes.
Man, people ain't gonna like my list, man.
People really ain't gonna like
My
mine.
My list ain't never changed. Walk Alone, Batista, Edge, Metalingus, Triple H, The Game, voices Randy Orton.
I
You got 3 of mine.
So number 1 for me is my favorite theme of all time, Broken Dreams. I don't give a fuck. Broken Dreams, Slow Chemical, Metalingus, Voices.
All right. So run through yours real quick.
Voices, Slow Chemical, Metalingus, and Batista's Walk Alone. Those are
Alan?
Steve Austin's theme, Shawn Michaels' theme, John Cena's theme. and
Which
Real
John Cena?
America.
Which one?
My time is now. And I got to throw, as much as I don't like it, I got to throw Real American in there.
I am a real American.
all right.
No. I don't like Hulk Hogan as much, but I love the theme. I got to throw it in there.
The theme is amazing, yo. It's great. It's a great theme.
I'll agree with you on that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for joining. Everybody in the comment section. Sorry we didn't get to no questions, but thank you guys for watching. Discussing a little Mount Rushmore here and there. So everybody has their different opinions on the Mount Rushmore, when it comes to WWE wise. So make sure you guys go subscribe, hit the subscribe button. Go follow all social medias here right there. Go check out all their stuff. And get ready to watch SmackDown because it's what I'm about to do. So
Yeah, SmackDown
I'll tell
right
y'all
now.
right now, though. Listen, if you ask me tomorrow, a lot of things change. So
just
like,
know one thing before we get off here. Acknowledge Roman Reigns.
Hell no.
oh yeah, no.
Acknowledge it.
Hell
No.
no.
Acknowledge